Gathering of the youth, intimidating the residents, drinking, causing criminal damage. That's where the speakers will come in more handy. Where they used to say CCTV is fine, but not in my backyard, they're now saying CCTV is fine, when can I have it?
I think it's useless. I think people just start swearing at it and kicking it and breaking it and stuff. It is Middlesbrough for all. To be honest, they'll probably encourage littering. I think kids will find it funny and stuff.
Do you feel safer?
Not really.
But you think they're a good idea?
Yeah. Just for petty crimes, not for
proper serious
things.
stuff.
High-tech surveillance is part of the fabric of British life, even if it always seems to work so much better on TV.
He's moving.
Spies versus terrorists, jazzed up here for the BBC's drama Spooks.
This is Alpha 1. Suspect is alone, travelling east.
The fact is the spooks can't watch us so easily and so often. But the question is, why do polls consistently tell politicians that people are always keen for more cameras?
Uniquely in Europe, this is a country that hasn't been invaded in the last 200 years or so. It's never had to deal with a fascist dictatorship. It's got no history of security service malfeasance on a great scale. There's no Stasi-like history. And so people don't really have any reason not to trust the government when it says it's doing certain things for our security.
In a park in the centre of London, itself surrounded by cameras, security consultant Ian Forbes says he'd like to see the footage from all cameras available for everyone on the internet.
If I'm being watched, it's not unreasonable for me to say I want to see what they're seeing, but if I can see what they're seeing and they therefore have to at any point justify to a member of the public who is capable of being watched what they're watching and why they're watching, that creates a greater discipline.
Back in 2005, on July the 7th, Londoners could not have known that they'd be facing 3 attacks over the next 2 years. 2 weeks later, when 4 men tried to copy the July the 7th attacks, pictures of them running away from other passengers were seen everywhere and helped police to find them. CCTV also had a role in this year's attempted bombings. Earlier this year, 2 car bombs were driven into the heart of London. One of them was left just around the corner, closer to Trafalgar Square. The other was left right outside this nightclub in the city's West End. The CCTV cameras around here caught pictures of a suspect dumping his bag in a rubbish bin. And all of the images from that evening were recorded in a camera control room that's just around the corner.
Stand by on the camera control. Wearing a yellow vest, top, black jogging bottoms.
For a 24-hour period, everything that you're seeing behind me is fully digital. We've got roughly about 160 cameras citywide. All of it's being recorded full-time over the 24-hour period. And basically, our job is to monitor the city and pass that information or respond to that information as we see fit with different agencies and departments.
Can we have a unit, please, down to Constitution Hill?
This control room is one of more than a dozen in Britain. The Australian Federal Police came here when they were planning security for APEC. These high-quality cameras with powerful zoom lenses are accessible by police and the security services. At the moment, it's all controlled by one of the local councils within London. But in the future, it seems likely these systems will be linked to provide some sort of national centralised coverage.
I personally think there will be a day when all of this will be linked up, including the London Underground, including all the security cameras internally and externally, and I think that is the way forward.
I think there is a problem, because once you start linking up systems, you're multiplying the risk exponentially, because your system is only as good as its weakest link, and some of those links are going to be very weak indeed.
At this trade fair in London, police and government officials are looking for better ways to gather information other than simple TV pictures.
Which finger, this one?
Yep. Straight in, very straight in. Yeah.
From eye scans through to fingerprints and DNA samples.
The important thing is that all these systems will become linked up through the sharing of data in various ways, what we call data valence, the way that captured data is compared to data in databases and intelligent decisions are then made, often by computer systems themselves. So we're talking about layer upon layer of computer searching and matching technologies before any human being gets to see any of this stuff.
This facial recognition camera tries to capture faces in a crowd and match them to known faces from, say, a police computer or the passport service.
In the future, you can see police being able to have instantaneous facial recognition through helmet-mounted cameras, being able to take samples and get instant DNA recognition. Again, on the streets, they can stop and search people, not just in the usual manner, but with biometric samples and with facial recognition on the spot, instantaneously, in real time.
The next step in the evolution of these cameras is a system that tries to figure out what you're going to do before you do it. At this train station in Sheffield, they're trialling a camera that sets off an alarm whenever there's an unauthorised approach. These cameras run software that tries to recognise what's defined as suspicious behaviour. Any camera watcher would be told that I am perhaps a bit too interested in these bikes. The British Transport Police have been looking at these for a few years, but they have significant limits. This camera sets off an alarm as I approach the staff entrance, but how do you tell between staff, innocent passengers and those with more malicious intent? They still need to send someone down to intercept those deemed suspicious.
If people know that we can identify them within seconds, potentially, then it could potentially save the station having a bomb placed around the place. You know, again, in bags, in vehicles, it could really act as a deterrent.
You can run even very fast, and the system will capture you and recognize you.
Back at the trade fair, one Russian-designed system tries to use the merest glance of a face or even simply your profile to sort the suspicious from the everyday.
You know, there is almost no such thing as normal behaviour. Trying to recognise what is suspicious behaviour in a complex urban environment is incredibly difficult and is incredibly dangerous. It poses all kinds of threats for privacy, for social relations and so on. And of course, the people you really want to watch out for, the people who are really dangerous, are exactly the people who are not going to be exhibiting any suspicious behaviour because they'll be well trained, they'll be in deep cover.
But there is no system yet that could predict what the July the 7th bombers were going to do as they travelled into London. And no system will stop the sort of random, senseless attacks that killed Daniel Pollan.
These cameras are not going to go away. They're not ever going to be taken down. They're just going to get more accurate, more joined up, as you say, and they're going to use more technologies to look at us and make assumptions about who we are. It's a huge problem.
Britain has always been a haven for political exiles and free thinkers. It's a liberal democracy.
Need the CCTV. Without CCTV, this wouldn't have been possible.
But as Sandra Griffiths contemplates the evidence from the night her son was attacked, she sees no conflict between a free society and ever greater surveillance.
I say put them everywhere. I've got nothing to hide. You can film me. You might see me fall over once or twice and maybe I've had a drink and a big smile on my face, but you're never going to catch me doing anything wrong. So I've got nothing to worry about.
You don't know in the future what will be the things that you think you have to hide. You don't know how governments will change, what information will become interesting, and even what information is interesting now. People are not aware already what is done with their data, what kinds of profiles are created of them for various reasons, both security and commercial. So to say that is really to basically just to say I don't know what's going on.